Okay, we are ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll dive right in. And if I could just get a verbal confirmation from someone that you can see the screen.
You can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Big 10-4.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, here we go. So, Legion, again, I'm not going to start at the very beginning. I want to just show you how I got to where I'm going to get here, but then again, the focus of today is going to be mainly on the drawing tools. Okay, so here we are with a home. Again, we've located the individual home. They've said, hey, come on in, let's talk further, and we can go in and start to model this system for them. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is I'll click on the proposal button here at the bottom. Now, before I do that, I want to just quickly touch on this proposal button and show the difference. This proposal button up here is where I can have access to any proposals that I've created in the past. This is the button down here where I can access a new proposal, create a new proposal. Okay, so again, I'm going to click on that. The first screen we'll go to is the energy consumption, which I know most of you are hopefully familiar with. If you're not, we'll talk about this on another training. We also have a number of other training videos that describe how to use and collect this consumption data. Okay, so again, just showing you the overall flow as to how we get into the actual drawing tools. All right, so now we've made it so that we want you to collect that consumption before you get into the drawing tools. Now, you're able to go in and actually put panels on a roof without having this consumption here, but what you'll be missing are the production numbers up top. Okay, so as I'm sure you're aware, we obviously need to use these consumption numbers as we start to build out the array or arrays on the other page coming up, as far as being able to do the production numbers and to generate this information that I know you'll need. Okay, so again, we come in, we collect consumption first, and then we click on this button right here. This button right here allows us to do two things. Okay, first of all, it allows us to do what we call a simple system. Okay, we're actually not going to design a full system. This is something where we can get a very rapid response or modeling to the consumer, whoever we're working with. Okay, I know some companies just simply will not use a simple system. That's fine. This is there just to get a very rapid idea of what it would look like for a consumer. So if I have very limited time, want to just get a basic idea of what this could do or what this could look like, I click on simple system. You'll notice that it's going to pre-populate with however many panels, the azimuth and so forth that I can get there. I can adjust that, but certainly that would start to get me something that I could give to that customer that frankly is just going to be an estimate for them. Okay, something to be able to say, you know what, I want to just model this and maybe I want to go in and just show them the financing option. So I have to have something there without spending all the time to go into a detailed design. Okay, so again, that's the simple system. All of these are adjustable, again, including panel inverters, azimuth, and the panel count, and my shading factor on it. Okay, all right, so let me come back here to the advanced drawing. Okay, this is where we're going to want to focus. And so the advanced drawing, notice that as we come to this the first time, we're going to lead with the Google top-down image. Okay, those of you that are doing design on a daily basis know that typically the Google imagery is not going to be enough to be able to do a very detailed and accurate design. You'll notice how the image is somewhat grainy, and really that's about as far as I can zoom in on that image right there. Okay, now when you come into a brand new home, you'll have the ability to get a high-res image if that high-res image is available. I don't have specific numbers on availability of these high-res images, but what I will tell you is we've partnered with EagleViewer Pictometry. I know they're out there as one of the industry standards for high-res imagery, and that's who we're using. And so you'll notice if you come into a brand new home, at the bottom it will say Get High-Res Image. Okay, the reason it doesn't say that here on this one is this is a home that I've already gathered that high-res image for this home. And so now it will just allow me to switch back and forth. Okay, so again, brand new home, you'll see the yellow tab along the bottom. and you'll simply click Get High-Res Image. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and switch to that high-res image. Again, I can do a design on the Google, right? So if for whatever reason I don't have a high-res image on the home that I'm working on, that's okay. I can still do it on a Google. It just makes it a lot easier on the high-res image from EagleView. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click the switch button. Wow, I'm zoomed way in. You'll notice the difference in that image versus the one that we had on Google. Again, quite a bit of a difference there. Okay. The other thing that I would encourage you to do, and it will remind you, we have a little prompt here that will remind you as you go to get that high-res image. Make sure that before you go to get the high-res image, make sure the home that you're wanting the image for is in the center of the screen or at least close to it. Okay. Sometimes this might be your home, right? If your home's not lined up when you're on that Google view, simply just with your finger, click and drag that home over into the view. Because what's happening is when we say get high-res image, we then go back to our servers and say, here's the home, we need it here. Does that make sense? So again, you're going to want to make sure that's centered. Once you do, then it will put the home to where that home is. I can move and adjust that home and get it where I need to be. Okay. All right. So now I have my home, and I'm able to start doing a detailed design for this home. Okay. Now I know I probably have on the call today a number of full-time designers, and you're probably using products like Aurora and others that are out there, which are wonderful products. And then I'm guessing I probably have others that may not do design as regularly, but may have been given the ability by whomever you work with to be able to start doing designs. What we did with Legion is we built this to be able to try to bridge that gap and accommodate both groups. Okay. I know some of you designers that do this on a full-time basis are going to look at this and go, oh, there's no way, we can't make this work, and so forth. My goal today is to show you that literally on an iPad, we've been able to make it so that you can do the designs like you've been doing with those other industry standard platforms that are out there. I also hope that we can convince a lot of you that are wanting to do design while you're with the customer that that's a possibility as well. Okay, but that's the way that we built this. So literally, as I'm sure you know, right now what I'll show you I'm doing on an iPad. Okay, it's strictly on an iPad. We don't have a web version, and so this is all mobile first, which we did by design. Okay, and so literally what I'll be showing you I'm just going to be doing with my fat finger on the iPad itself. Okay. All right, so what we do is, again, now we're in the advanced drawing stage of it. I have my home. Imagine a customer is looking over my shoulder, and I want to help them to visualize what it's going to look like to put solar on their home. More importantly, I also want to start getting some accurate modeling. Okay, so we've built some pretty simple steps over here on the right-hand side that you'll typically want to follow in this order. Okay, start from the top, go to the bottom. So the first thing I need to do is do what we call set the grid. Okay, so I'm going to just simply click on this. You'll notice that it's going to layer a grid section on top of that home for me. Okay, what I'm asked to do at this point is simply set these main grid lines according to the main ridge line of the home. Okay, this ridge line is obviously going east to west. Okay, or west to east, whatever way you want to say it. But here's our main ridge line. What I need to do is I need to then take my two fingers on the iPad and twist or adjust this ridge so that it matches up as closely as I can with that actual ridge line. Okay? Now, obviously, if I turn it like that, that's not lined up with the ridge line. If I rotate it this way, that's not lined up with that main ridge line. What we're doing here is we're helping to get the angle of that roof, right? We're trying to determine the azimuth so that we can say, hey, this is the way that main roof plane is facing. Okay, if you're not doing design on a regular basis, you'll learn very quickly that south-facing roof exposures are the ones that we want to lead with if we can, right? And there's an order to things. We typically would go south, and then west, and then east, and then north would be the worst. okay? But I'm looking for where would I put that array? Where would I put those solar panels? Okay, this is a great roof for that. It's south-facing roof exposure. Looks like its shading is minimal to non-existent, and we'll talk more about that momentarily. But what I'm doing is, again, setting that grid with that roof. Okay, if I were looking at this home over here, it would be a similar type setting with that ridge line. Now, there's going to be ridge lines that go all different ways and shapes and sizes, as you know, depending on the way the house is facing. But that's how you adjust that there. Once that's set, let me see if I got that as tight as I want it. Looks pretty good. I'm simply going to click on that button again, and my roof plane is now set. Okay? And if you're doing that for the first time on a home, a little pop-up will come up and it will say, hey, this is set for that array. Okay? All right, so the next thing I need to do is click right here. This is what we call the inclinometer, okay? What we're using this for is to determine the pitch of that roof, okay? And we're trying to determine what is the pitch or the tilt of that roof, which obviously helps us to determine the azimuth as well, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this. Now what we've done is we've taken Google Street View, okay, which allows us to get a view of that home. This one's pretty easy, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do it on a simple home like this. But then I'll show you if for whatever reason that image isn't as good as we want it to be. We do have some solutions for that. But this one's easy, and so all I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in on that home, and I'm going to take the coordinates take the corners of this triangle and do what it says here. Move B to the center of the angle, okay? So I take B, and I put it to the center of that angle. And then A and C to create the angle. So now I take A up, I'm following that roof plane, I take C up, and notice that now I have my degree, okay, and my pitch. It's an 812 pitch. So most times when people build homes, they're going to follow the same pitch all throughout that roof plane. Not always, but the majority of the time they will. Okay, and so once I'm able to determine that pitch on that roof, I then know that it's going to follow the same pitch here where I'm actually going to end up putting panels. All right, so if I go ahead and click save, that will then say, okay, hey, all the roof planes will update to the roof tilt value. Okay, that's great. That's what I want. Now, let me come back into that inclinometer though and show you specifically some things we can do if we don't have that good of a view of the home. Say, for example, I can't get the tilt or the roof pitch from the front. I don't have one of these gables that I'm able to measure with the inclinometer, okay? I have a couple of things I can do. First of all, I can come in and I can start to use the Google Walk, okay? I don't know if that's really what it's called, but that's what I'm going to call it. So as we click on that, notice that I can then, I don't even have to, I can be in the home with the customer doing this. I can move and try to position myself in a way that I might get an angle of the side of the house, okay? I might be able to say, you know what, I can kind of see an angle right there. Maybe I can measure that better, right? Or I could move down the street and come in on this side over here. Once I get far enough down, obviously that tree's there, but assume that it weren't, and get a better view here of that angle and how I may be able to measure that. So we give you the ability to go in and move and adjust that street view and try to get that pitch, okay? Once I get to a place where I know I can measure it, I would simply click the checkbox, okay? Click the checkbox, it then brings up the inclinometer. Obviously this is not how I would measure this one, but assume that it were, assume I had a gable over here that I could measure, then I would come in and do it that way, okay? The other thing I could do is come in and simply, if I was at the home, go take a picture. If the picture that we lead with on Street View isn't good, actually use this, step outside, say, you know what, I need to go measure your roof, go out, take a picture of the home. Once you have that image set, again, click the checkbox and the inclinometer will apply to whatever image you take and allow you to get the pitch or the tilt of that roof. Okay? All right. let me stop right there. Are we getting any questions, Beth? Let me stop right there and find out. Are there any questions that anybody has so far? And you'll have to take yourselves off mute for a minute if so, but I'm going to stop right there and answer questions to this point. Either I've put you all completely to sleep, or you're telling me let's move on and let's go.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you always want to do it on the gable, or do you want to do it? Can you do it from the bottom of the roof to the pitch, the top of the pitch?
Good question. Good question. And I'm not, so typically, again, I would ask your design team on that and how you're currently doing it. It depends on the roof itself. For the sake of time, I won't be able to go in and show you. Well, in fact, look, if you can follow me for a minute, can you guys see my mouse okay?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine this were the front of the house right there. Okay, and notice how this is the high point of that pitch right there. Certainly, if this were the front of the house I was measuring, yes, I would put my B corner here. I'd bring my A up to this pitch, and I'd have my C run flush with that line here in the middle. Does that make sense? So then, yes, I could measure it there. And obviously, that's not a gable. I'm just measuring my main roof pitch at that point. So absolutely. In fact, let me go back. Let me go back here. So this view here, notice that I wouldn't be able to do that as easily on this home. Oh, bring that back up. Are we still on? There we go. I wouldn't be able to bring it on this home because this roof doesn't give me that angle. It just gives me the gable. Does that make sense? And we've got, if somebody will go back on mute, it sounds like there's a little bit of background noise. But what I would recommend on that, again, depending on your design team, how they're going to assess that, I would go through and ask them to make sure that you're doing it the right way. But typically, yes, if you measure a gable, you're good. If there's not a gable, then there are other ways that you can measure that pitch. So hold on, we've got a question here. What have we done to validate the accuracy of the tilt measuring tool? That's a good question. We've put this into practice with a number of our dealers. We haven't really, that I'm aware of, done anything outside of that other than the images that we're using and that street view and the way to manipulate that street view. For example, if I click right here, I've got a pretty level view of that home. If I were looking from a different angle, it may skew that pitch a little bit, but a lot of that is I'm looking straight on it right now. I can tell, you know what, that's going to make it, that's going to work, right? That's going to line up, and it's simple geometry that allows us to do it. So we feel like it's very, very accurate. We have, as I'm sure you're aware, upwards of almost 100 dealers using it right now and have not had issues to date with it. So, good question. Okay, moving along. Let's go now to putting the actual, drawing our roof plane out. Okay, and I want you to pay close attention here, as there's going to be some specific things we do in drawing out these roof planes. Okay, if done incorrectly, it may skew your production and the way that we're modeling this for you. So again, here's the inclinometer. We go to the next step. The next step is to actually draw out the roof plane. Now, there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you the first way here with this. If you can see, there's a little red line in between these dots. And then I'll show you the more manual way and talk through both. First thing I'll do is click on the one with the little red line in between it. And it says, okay, once that's turned on, I now am able to come in and start drawing out that roof plane. Okay. What you want to do is you want to work clockwise, starting on the main ridge line. Okay, you don't want to go counterclockwise. You don't want to go any other way. You want to go clockwise, starting on the main ridge line. Now, don't sweat it. We cover this in the training videos. It's very detailed as well, but just follow me for a minute. Here's my main ridge line. Okay, I'm going to start on the left-hand corner of that main ridge line. I want to draw that ridge line first. And if I'm doing it clockwise, then I'm going to go this direction right here. Okay, so I start in this corner fact, I'm going to zoom in a little. So I start in this corner and I just simply push and hold with my finger. Notice when I do that, it brings up a magnifying glass and allows me to get right into the corner of that ridge line. And then I let go. That's my first dot. I then go right here to the other corner. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push and hold. Notice that as I'm doing that, it's giving me a green line and telling me when I'm lined up with that grid that I set at the very beginning. Okay, so now I've drawn my first ridge line on there. And now I'm simply going to go around the rest of that roof plane in the same way. Again, I'm just pushing and holding with my finger, trying to get it as close as I can to that place where I want it. It's going to tell me when I'm square. Some of you design guys may say, hey, slow down and do it better, and that's okay. And now I get to this point, I'm not quite done. I need to complete the shape, okay? So I simply click on the final dot. Once I complete that shape, a couple of things happen, okay? First of all, it's going to ask me for a shading factor, okay? What would I apply as a shading factor to this, okay? This is going to allow us to say, is it completely sunny? Is it mostly sunny? Is it partially shaded? Is it mostly? Is it completely? Now, with our shading, there's a lot that goes on behind this, but let me just tell you, this is the simple way to get a reading right out of the gates. Okay, I'm going to say this is completely sunny. And I know some of you design guys are freaking out right now, so just bear with me. You're able to adjust those shading factors, and you're able to say, hey, what shading factor do I want completely sunny to really mean, right? You can change and adjust all of that in the background, and I can show you how to do that on another training, okay? Your administrators know how to do that. But now I've simply come in and I've said, hey, I'm going to label that as completely sunny, okay? You'll also notice that it's given me the ability to start to put panels on that roof. It's done other things. It's also labeled these edges and roof planes for me, okay? But notice that some of these aren't right, okay? And that's what I want to cover with you. As I come in and look at this, it's going to lead with where I know it's going to tell me that's the ridge. It already knows that's the ridge. Lots of times the system will get these right. Sometimes it won't. And so if you're using the red line here, you need to be able to adjust and change these according to what they really are. And let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to click on this again. And now I can come in and I can actually change the name of these. Okay. Instead of an edge, that's actually a hip. Okay. So I just simply change it to a hip. Instead of an eave right here, this is a valley. Okay. And I'm going to show some of you who don't know where these are, how to know what these are. Okay. This one's going to be a valley as well. Okay. And this one's an eave in front. And then finally, this one's another hip on this side. Now that I have those labeled the way that I want those to be labeled, I'm going to simply come back in to the panel button. And notice that it's going to give me the ability, if I want, to start adding panels to that. Okay? If you've not seen our platform before, you're probably wondering, why is the space here around these panels, these places where I can put panels? Okay? These are what we call the offsets or setbacks. Okay? So for example, if I click on the setback button right here, you'll notice that it's starting to adjust, it's allowing me to adjust these different setbacks. Okay? For example, this ridge, if I click on that, it's set in the background as a default of 36 inches. Okay? Depending on the jurisdiction that you're selling in, it may not be 36 inches. There may not be a setback, or it might be, we'll say, 24 inches. If I move that to 24 inches, notice that it allows me to push those panels a little further up towards that ridge right there. Okay? Now, I'm not going to know what these are for your organization or your jurisdictions. We've given you the ability to be able to adjust all of those depending on where you are and what your installation crew is going to require, or the local jurisdiction based on your fire setbacks. Okay? But that's how you would adjust your setbacks. Now, these can be set as default. So for your organization, if you have guys that are only working in one area and you know that the setback's there, you can set that. and that can populate for them every time they come in to do a design, and it's very simple. Okay. All right. So those are the setbacks. Now, on this roof, luckily, if you look at it, we don't have any obstructions that I can see in there. But say we did. Say that there was a vent of some sort. We'll say there was a vent sitting right here that we knew we couldn't put panels over the top of. I simply click on, notice the X here because we're taking out obstructions. Notice that if I have different shapes I can apply, or I can freehand an obstruction that I have in that area. So let's say it's a small little white vent that's coming out of the roof right there. If I click on the circle obstruction button and put that in there, it's going to start with a big obstruction. Okay, all I need to do is simply, I'm just pinching and holding, okay, and getting that down small to where that could cover a little vent. Okay, if I want to really fine tune the size of that, or know what square footage that actually is based on the square footage of that home, I could come in, I open up the tab over here, and I click on the obstruction, and notice that I can make that larger or smaller by simply doing the plus or minus on that obstruction itself. Okay? And so now let me close that out and show you, if I go now to apply panels, what's going to happen having that obstruction there. If I put panels on it, notice that it's automatically going to stay away from that and tell me you cannot put panels in that area because of that obstruction that I have. Okay? All right, let me go a little further, and then I'm going to stop and answer questions. So the next thing that I want to do, now that I again, following the pattern down, the next thing I want to do is start to lay panels on the roof. Okay? So all I'm doing is just clicking on these, and notice that in the top right-hand corner, based upon my consumption that I gathered, and based upon all of these other knobs and levers that I have set, oh, hey, we've got our stand-up call coming. Let me click that. How do I end that? Just a second, guys. There we go. Oh, thank you. Beth's laughing at me here. Our Romanian developers are wondering where we are. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the panels right here. So notice that as I add panels, it's going to change my production based upon how many panels I'm applying, how many I'm putting on that roof. I'm at a 70% offset right there. I probably want to add some more panels to that to get closer to 100% offset. Okay, and now notice that there's quite a bit of functionality when we get to this point. I can come in and I'm going to turn all those panels off by just simply clicking to take all the panels out. Maybe I want to come in and I want to lay those panels vertically. And maybe I want to really try to get kind of crazy with how and where I can apply panels. So all I'm doing is pushing and holding in here in this available area. Based on those setbacks, it's going to say, well, you could fit panels here. Man, we could squeeze them up this high. We could move them over, maybe get one right above that obstruction, and so on and so forth. Okay, based upon that available area there. If I want to come in and again change them back to a vertical stance there, I can simply do that. Okay, so there's the ability to do that. Now, I also want to show you some other things over here on the left-hand side. Okay, first of all, you'll notice that I have roof A. Okay, maybe I want to draw another array. I want to complete another roof plane. I can't get enough panels on this roof. Maybe I want to put them on that roof over there. That's not hard to do. All I would need to do is come over and simply click on this again, right? I'm going to zoom out a little. I would click on the button right here, which would allow me to then come in and I could start to draw the other array based upon whatever I want to do in that area as well. Okay, so again, I'm not going to draw it all out, but you get the idea. I could come in and say, you know what? We need to put panels in this area here, and this is how that would work. Once I do that, let me just show you. Once I do that, it's then going to say, okay, this is roof B I'm working on now. Here's all the settings for roof B. If I want to go back and work on roof A, I would simply click on roof A. Okay. Now I'm going to delete roof plane B because that's obviously just for demo purposes. So I'm going to open up roof plane B and click delete roof plane. Okay. It's going to say, you sure you want to do it? And yes, I do want to do it. Okay. So over here in the roof plane A, I want to show you some of the information and the knobs and levers that we have. Okay. First of all, right here, I promised that I would show you how you could know where the hips, the valleys, the eaves, and the edges, and so forth are. Okay, so we've created a little diagram for you right here that if you ever forget what is what, you can come in and click on that, and it will show you specifically how to label the different pieces of that roof. Okay, the different elements there. You'll also notice that we have our offsets. I can come in and I can adjust any and all of those offsets as needed individually here as well. Obviously, I can use this part of the tool over there if I'd like. This is another way that you can do it. And then we have the energy production drop down. You'll notice that I don't have any panels on the roof yet, and that's why the kilowatts and the panels are at 0. But notice that I have a hard value for my roof tilt. If I want to change that, I can do that right there. I can adjust it to whatever number I need. I can also come back in and change the shading factor if I want on that. Again, I could come in and say, you know what, it's not completely sunny, it's partially shaded. And I could simply change that. It's not a problem. I can also come in and change my panel and inverter type. Okay, and now this is going to have all of the panels and inverters that you and your organization have access to. If you need to add panels or inverters for your entire organization, simply give us a call. We add them into the back end, and then you can adjust and manipulate them here on your side. Okay, same thing with inverters, right? If I click on inverters, I could change the inverters and or the panels. Now, when I do that, and if I have panels on the roof, obviously that's then going to affect everything, production size and my panel count and so forth. Okay, so all of that will change dynamically based upon what I have selected over here on this side. Okay, all right, so let me go back over and I'm going to put some panels on the roof. I'm going to zoom back in a little bit. Let's put some panels on the roof, and again we're going to start to generate some production numbers now up in the top right hand corner. We're at 88%. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get us up, that's close at 97% right there. And I want to show you now, if I come back in, say I'm at a 260 watt Hanwha panel, okay? Let's go to, say, a 325 Panasonic, okay? And it says, are you sure you want to change the panel type? I'm going to say yes. Notice that now it's going to say, okay, you've got to add whatever panels you want back on, because now my production values are going to change based on the fact that I'm using a different type of panel. Notice that I put less panels on and I'm already over my offset. Okay. All right, so let me stop right there and answer questions that you have so far about the drawing tools. And I'll start with those that are on the that are typing in. Let's see, can you input a specific shading value? For example, loss is 5%, 90% solar access. That's a great question. We don't have that on the front end right now. That literally is in our sprint schedule, however, to allow you to go and be able to literally here come into shading and apply a number factor to that. Admittedly, we had that in our software a year and a half ago and had a lot of feedback that we needed to make it more simple. And so shame on us, we pulled that out and went to this type of a rating. And now we're getting feedback that we need to add that back in. And so that will be in there, and that's in the sprint. That will be in there within weeks and be able to adjust that on a manual basis as well. So good question. What is the azimuth? You don't have a microphone. Okay. So the azimuth is the panel's orientation to the sun. Okay, so it's basically saying if we lay those panels on a roof, how are they going to orient themselves to the sun? That gives us then a rating that says, okay, a south-facing roof with a certain pitch is going to help us to determine the azimuth, or again, its orientation to the sun, which in essence helps us to determine how much exposure those panels are going to have to the sun based upon the trajectory of that sun and the location of that home and so forth, where that is. And so there's a lot of things behind that allow it to do it. But in real simple terms, it's essentially the orientation of those panels to the sun. And so again, your design teams will know about that and be able to explain that probably far better than I will. But that's the simple term, is its orientation to the sun. Okay, let's see. What are the percentages? I'm not sure what percentages you're talking about. I'm wondering if that's at our production. Maybe be a little more clear if you could. Oh, of the shade. Got it. So I think they're asking, what are the percentages of the shading? That's a good question. Again, that is adjustable by the organization. So for example, completely sunny to a certain solar dealer will mean, hey, it's 95%, there's less than a 5% shading. For another company, they may say, you know what, our threshold for us to label it completely sunny may go down to 10% shading. That's adjustable by the organization, okay? So again, there are, in the organization settings, we allow you to go back in and adjust what completely sunny will mean for your group. Okay, so completely sunny could mean, there's a 2% shading or less. It's totally up to you. I think that's the question. If not, message us back and let us know. So south-facing roof, you guys have got good questions. So south-facing roof is 180-degree azimuth. I need a smart guy to answer that for me. I honestly don't know. I think I want to say yes. I know we've got guys on the call that would be able to answer that. I want to say yes. Yes, it is. Thanks, McKay. So 180-degree azimuth is a south-facing roof exposure. And then again, depending on where that is in that degree is going to determine your overall azimuth or availability to the sun. Okay, so, wondering about how you set the azimuth. So again, good question. We do that automatically. Okay, again, that's set here by the grid. Some other feedback that came recently is that we allow you to adjust the azimuth by a number as well. We took that feedback and we are going to put that into an upcoming sprint as well. So if that's your question, how do you adjust that manually without just using the grid? We will give you that ability here in this left-hand view controller to allow you to be able to come in and do a number to it, to where you could say, you know what, this is a 90-degree azimuth, or this is a 120-degree, and so forth. You'll be able to do it as a number, but currently you adjust it right here in the grid view. Okay, again, at the beginning, when we set that grid, we know based on the orientation of the map what that azimuth is. Okay, good question. What if you don't have 12 months of usage? Will it estimate the 12 months? Chad's going back to a previous training, but Chad will follow you here. It's a good question. Let me dive into that quickly. So yes, if we come into here, there are a number of ways that we can adjust and change the actual usage. Now, if you don't have 12 months or you don't scan the power bill, obviously your level of accuracy is going to go down. But yes, we do have a way of modeling that. So for example, we already know where Titus Bills lives. I can come in and I can say, hey, I have, we'll say, June's consumption. And we'll say he used 325 kilowatt hours in June. Notice that now, because I've clicked apply slope, it's going to then give me a spread for that area. This is not going to be exact for Titus Bills. What we do is we use a third-party platform that allows us to be able to say, on average, customers in his given area are going to have this type of a consumption spread. And so I know what his June actually was, and then it's going to model it. Okay. So again, without getting way off into the energy consumption, yes, there are multiple ways to do it. And Chad, if you've got detailed questions on it, reach back out to us and we'll be glad to go through that in detail. So good question. I am going to focus back in on the drawing tools for now, though. Okay. All right. Other questions that anybody has on all things drawing tools? If not, and again, keep typing them
Yes,
in.
I have a
Yeah, go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
Okay, when you enter in the kilowatt hours for usage, does the address automatically figure out which utility company that customer holds?
It does. Yes. Yep.
So it'll
No,
know that Colorado Springs Utilities or Fountain Utilities or Black Hills?
it does. Yep. We know based upon the address, which we already have, what utility company they're a part of. And if they don't, if it's a different utility, if you look at it and you say, no, this is actually not the right utility, I can come in and I could say, oh, this is one of those edge cases. This is actually Salem City Corporation, and here's the tariff. It then goes out, and if there's a need be, it would refigure those numbers. Okay, but yes,
Really?
we do lead with the right utility on that. Based,
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So okay, good. Any other questions? Good questions so far. Go ahead and type those in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, but before I do, I want to make you aware of a couple of things. First of all, we absolutely value the fact that you're with us and that you're using our platform. We're very, very open to feedback. We get feedback every single day, and we love it. As I'm sure you're aware, there are different processes and different ways of selling solar out there across the board. Know that when you do give us feedback, we do log all of that feedback. And what we're trying to do is create literally an industry standard type platform that will allow solar to be sold effectively in a way that makes a lot of sense. So if you've got practices that you do and you ask us to do those, just be patient with us. And again, we're trying to make a platform that everybody can use that will really help benefit the way that you sell the service that you're selling. And so the way that you do that, among others, is you simply take the device. So if you're on your iPad, just shake the iPad. It will then come up with this prompt, and it says, hey, do I want to either report a problem or suggest an improvement? If I want to report a problem, for example, it'll then take a screenshot of wherever I am. I can then take and draw an arrow and say, hey, this isn't working, or take a look here, this is broken, and so on and so forth. I then would come in, I can type in whatever went wrong, and all of that information will then be sent back to us, and we take that and value that information, okay? We can also do a screen recording, so maybe you're saying, gosh, you guys, it would be a lot easier if when I pushed on this button, it did this. That's helpful to us, and so we value that, and that's the very best way to send that to us, okay? The other thing I would tell you is we do have detailed training videos on everything we covered today, as well as all of the other functionality that's inside of the platform, okay? The way that you find that is you simply go to the main menu, which is right here, okay? If I click on the main menu, notice that it has the training videos here for me. If I click on the training videos, it then allows me to go in and get very detailed training videos all the way through everything that we've talked about there, okay? Doing our very best to keep up on those. We're iterating on the product at such a fast pace that admittedly, some of these training videos, if we go a couple of weeks without updating those, they may be a little behind. So just be patient with us, but let us know if you have any additional needs there. Beth also went in and added a link to what we call our Zendesk account, which is online. You can access that on the web. So if you're at home and you're not on your iPad and want to access those training videos, there's that plus a number of other resources there that will help you get more familiar with the platform. What we do is we record all of these webinars and then we put those on that Zendesk account. And so again, in the chat window right now, you can look, there's a link for Zendesk, and I would copy that down. That has all the training videos, it has past webinars, it allows you not to have to be beholden to us and trying to get with us to get the training that you need, okay? Now, final thing I'll say, and then I'll let you go, is this. We are here to help. We will do our very best to accommodate you and your organizations. We want to get you trained. We want you to be able to use this. We want you to be able to benefit your organization, help you to increase the amount of sales you're doing and make your processes more efficient. contact us at customer support and let us know if there's anything we can do. We do trainings all day, every day. We have organizations where we train your salespeople, we train your managers, we train your design teams. Whatever you need, we're willing and able to do that, and literally do that on a daily basis. And so let us know if you have needs there specifically and what we can do to help accommodate. Okay. And finally, it looks like our plan is we will do these additional trainings periodically. We'll certainly let you know when we do these more live interactions, and encourage you and your teams to get on those as often as you can, or as often as you need, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to open it up finally for any final questions. Anybody have any final questions before we go ahead and close out and let you get back to your business? Okay, let's see. I think that's it. Looks like some specific questions there. Thank you all. We certainly appreciate your time today. And again, reach back out to us as needed. And we'd love to talk with you further about individual needs that you have with your organization. But we'll go ahead and end there and look forward to seeing you on the next call. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.